Today, what I'd like to sort of chat with everyone here in the webinar today is about how Octopus is investing in multi-tenancy this year, especially how we're investing in the tenants at scale experience in Octopus. So today I'll just be walking through the first part of my webinar would just be some tenants basics for those that are new to tenants or are thinking about moving to a tenanted instance in Octopus. I'll just chat about what tenants can do in Octopus, the sort of benefits that you can find by using tenants, as well as why you might want to sort of think about moving into tenants in Octopus if you're thinking about that. The next thing after that is that I'll cover off a new improvement that we're making to multi-tenancy in Octopus that helps with the managing tenants at scale issue, which is a new redesigned tenant overview dashboard, as well as new powerful rules-based filters that we've introduced to that dashboard to help you find the tenants and tenant-related information that you need. So we'll walk through a real demo of how that live dashboard works, as well as how those filters work as well. And finally, at the end of the webinar, I'll be opening the floor to questions, as well as just pointing folks to the best places that you can, basically, if you have any questions, you can sort of send it in even after the webinar, or if you want to reach out to our team to find out more about Octopus and multi-tenancy. So without further ado, let's get into it. So again, like I said, I just would like to spend this first part of the seminar chatting with you about our multi-tenancy feature here at Octopus, what it can do, and why might you want to consider it when implementing your deployment process in Octopus. To do that, we must first understand what projects are in Octopus. So at a very basic level, Octopus projects represents the deployment configuration for an application. And one of the key pieces of the deployment configuration is the deployment process, which can be set up in Octopus itself. This is a series of steps that must be performed to successfully deploy an application, and it must be performed in a very specific order. The deployment process is usually defined once per application and then reused across testing and production environments. Let's say, for example, we worked at the retail store. And we had an application that was used by our customers to make purchasing decisions within the store itself. Now, to ensure that the customers are browsing the inventory that's local to the store, we would have a copy of each application at each location running on the servers in the store to provide the best possible experience. The process in which we would need to deploy the application doesn't really change. The only thing that's really going to change are minor configuration items, such as the name that's displayed at the top of the screen, as well as the various connections to databases or other services. This is where the multi-tenancy feature in Octopus can really benefit your team and help scale that deployment process to hundreds or thousands of stores or tenants. Physical locations, like what we just walked through, is a common scenario if you run software in brick and mortar locations. You may need separate deployments because each site has its own needs, like time zones, outage windows, and technology. And Octopus lets you deploy to all physical locations and meet those needs without duplicating the effort, essentially. Another example of how multi-tenancy can be used in Octopus is through isolated infrastructure for each of your SaaS customers. So in this scenario, you host a SaaS or a PaaS platform, and many customers access it in their own instance. And basically what Octopus Tenants feature allows you is that it allows you to define your process just once and deploy to each customer instance multiple times, so at scale. And this is because a tenant is basically a predefined group of application hosts. So obviously, we just went through a couple of examples. So again, the first one is the retail store example that we just walked through early on. A tenant can also be a branch office, your customer infrastructure. So as we mentioned, that SaaS or PaaS sort of example as well. A tenant can also be an isolated cloud infrastructure that you might be hosting, per customer, or maybe it's a different cloud region for a variety of different legal reasons. Sorry. A tenant can also represent data centers. So, for example, a data center is located in Salt Lake City, and another is located in Austin, Texas, and another maybe is located in Brisbane. Then each of them will have different, slightly different configurations, but generally the process needs to be the same between each. Last but not least, they can also be an isolated testing lab in which you might be deploying to physical hardware, and they need to be able to support a variety of different hardware configurations. So there's a testing lab that represents the different configurations that you have. The important thing to understand is that the host for each of these tenants runs a copy of the application on the predefined group of hosts, but they require slightly different configurations. As such, multi-tenancy in Octopus Deploy allows you to scale a single deployment process to hundreds or even thousands of different tenants. So you can just define your deployment process just once, and it can be used as many times as you want to deploy to all of your related tenants. This makes deployment and configuration at scale easy and simple for your team, and allows you to replicate your deployment processes with little to no fuss at the same time. I'll walk through just a few more benefits of multi-tenancy before I jump into the new tenant dashboard. So firstly, you're able to release across environments with multi-tenancy. So you can deploy to one tenant, some tenants, or all of your tenants at once, or to specific release rings based on scoping to define tenant tags, which are these little labels that we created for tenants as well. Again, just as mentioned, you can just define one single deployment process, and you're able to seamlessly connect it to either side of your deployment pipeline and use it for as many customers or locations as you need. You can manage each tenant's unique processes, customizations, and features using tenant tags and variables as well. You can also configure variables for each tenant. So you can define variable values like database connection strings or API keys. They're different for each tenant in your project. You can also create tenants and perform routine tasks with ease using our runbooks feature as well. And using runbooks, you can automate tenants and infrastructure provisioning whenever needed. You can manage backups, database maintenance, and service failover and restoration with one click. And finally, this is a very stylized view of it, but using our new tenant overview dashboard, you know where your releases are, regardless of your multi-tenancy strategy. You're able to see key information about your tenants at a glance, like the projects they belong to, assigned tags, and environments for each tenant. All right, with that out of the way, let's move on to the demo of the new tenant overview dashboard. So again, before I jump into it, what I wanted to show everyone on the call is what the old tenant overview dashboard used to look like. So this was what it previously was. And as you can see, there are sort of a few distinctive factors about the old tenant overview dashboard. So firstly is that it employed a card style format where you're able to, each tenant was represented by individual cards. You're able to see that we had logos, we had the name of the tenant, and the little square boxes just below the name represented the tenant tags. And what were the issues with the old tenant overview dashboard? So there were a couple. So firstly, as you can tell, hopefully you can tell, there's very little to no information about tenants and tenant-related items in the old tenant overview dashboard. So, obviously we did provide a name, we provided a logo, we provided a couple of colored boxes to figure out which tags they were, but there was just more information that folks wanted. So, through customer feedback, we realized that, hey, actually, customers wanted to know more about the environments that they were possibly connected to or the projects that they were connected to. They wanted to know the full name of the tenant tag rather than just having colored boxes at the bottom where sometimes if the colors are a bit too close to each other, you're not even too sure which tag that is. Second thing is that it doesn't scale well. So obviously on that page, you probably saw about 10 or 20 tenants, and that worked well for the card style format. But once you go past, probably 50, 100, we've got customers that use thousands and even a customer that's up to tens of thousands of tenants, that it just doesn't scale well in terms of the visibility and findability of the particular tenant. Again, this is sort of a supporting point to the second point where, just being able to find a tenant or being able to scope down to a particular tenant or even exclude some tenants that you might not want to see on the dashboard. It's very difficult with the sort of controls that we have on the dashboard as well as the way that we laid out the tenants on the dashboard in a card style format. And finally, it was just not performing at scale. We had issues where, when it goes past a certain number, the dashboard UI was slow and sluggish, and it caused a lot of frustration for our customers. So what do? We redesigned it. So the redesigned tenant overview dashboard is available in Octopus 23.2. And there are three key new features and functions that I'll be showing that comes up with the 23.2 version. And I'll also be showing a new feature and function that comes out with the 23.3 version, which is actually new and more powerful rules-based filters. But first, what's coming out of the 23.2 version? So firstly, we've replaced the old card style format with a data table instead. So on the data table, you're able to see more information about your tenant, you're able to see the things that you really care in relation to your tenant-related information. So for example, the projects, the environments, and the full name of the tenant tags. There are expandable roles to view additional information as well. So later on, when you see the demo, the table is summarized and sort of collapsed just to make everything neat and tidy. But if you do want to see more information related to the tenant, all you have to do is simply expand the row and you're able to see all the related information. And finally, there's new pagination and results controls. And this just keeps everything neat and tidy as well as performant at scale. All right. And without further ado, it is demo time. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to quickly shuffle over to the new tenant overview dashboard and show everyone what we've been working on for the year. And this is it. This is the new tenant overview dashboard. So as you can see, first thing that I'll point out is that it is in this data table format. So a very massive shift from the card style format that you all probably saw previously. I can see a lot of great Reacts, money Reacts, not too sure, but but it is a good looking table. That's what I'll say, if I can say that myself. So as you can see, we've given you a lot more information in relation to your tenants, such as not just the tenant name and the logo, which we've previously provided, but also the tenant tag, as well as the full name associated with that tag, the project that's associated with it, as well as the environment that's associated with that tenant as well. And let's say you are in a situation where, hey, you have this situation in this row here. Folks can see mint snowshoe. And what we see here is that the tags are collapsed in a way. So we show you 3 tags. And after that, we'll just show you the access as a +1, +2, +3, just depending on what the access is past the first 3 tags. We also collapse all the projects together once it's past a certain number, as well as the environments together once it's past a certain number. But if you wanted to see more information, as in, you want to see what is this +1 tag, what's in the multiple environments, what are the other projects that are associated with this tenant, all you have to do is to click this down button here, and you're able to see all that related information. So now you're seeing the full scope of the environments that are connected to the project, the different types of projects that the tenant is connected to, as well as the tags that are associated with the tenant as well. The other thing I wanted to show is the new pagination controls here as well. So as you can see, we set you at a default of 30, but obviously if you want to go higher, you can go to 50, and that just responds to that, being able to pop onto 50. For all our power users out there that really wants to see as many tenants as they can, we can even pop it to 100. And you can see that as well. The other thing that I just wanted to show folks is another way in which we can expand the rows. So another way in which we can do that is that in the case where the tenant is only connected to one project, but you have multiple tags as well as multiple environments to that project and tenant, what you can do is that we actually make this clickable. So if you just want to see, for example, for this tenant, okay, I just want to know what this +1 tag is, not necessarily concerned about this +1 environment. I just want to see what this +1 tag is. All you have to do is simply click this +1 tag. That pops open. You're able to see Beer and Sons. Be like, great, I know it's Beer and Sons. I can click this to show summary again. Same thing for the +1 environment. You want to see, all right, what's this other environment that we have here? We'll click this, UAT2. All right, great. And then just show summary again. And hopefully what folks can see is that this is performing quite well at scale as well. So obviously we have 255 tenants in this table. We've done a couple of internal testing with some of our own instances where, even up to 5,000 tenants, we are seeing that the table is running as smooth as this. It's zipping through the data set pretty quickly, and there's no problems with it as well. So we've really ensured that we've built this to be performant at scale. So that's the new tenant overview dashboard. Those are the items, or those are the features and functions that will come out with the new 23.2 version of Octopus. What I'd like to show next is what's coming up for the 23.3 version of Octopus. So if you're on Octopus Cloud, you'll be getting this shortly, or if you haven't gotten it already, if you're on the on-prem version, you will have to get this on the 23.3 version. And what I'm talking about is actually our new rules-based filters. So as you can see, or at least for folks that use our multi-tenancy feature pretty regularly, we've moved the filters from the left-hand side of the page all the way to the top. And the reason for that is to make space for the new rules-based filters that we've actually introduced. So what do we mean by rules-based filters? So what we've done is that we've made stackable filters with multiple different rules that can interact with each other so that you can really scope down to the tenant that you're really looking for on this dashboard. So let's say, for example, I'm coming in here and I'm looking for a tenant and I'm like, right, I sort of know its name is Rose or Mint something. So perhaps what I'll do first is I'll search it by name. And I think one of the first things you'll see here is that we've included an inclusionary and a non-inclusionary filter. So we have a contains and does not contain. And that was something that we got from customer feedback, that folks actually wanted to have exclusionary filters, that they didn't want to search by something, or they wanted to exclude a certain item from search. So for example, if I say name contains mint, for example, and I click enter, that obviously brings up everything with mint in it. I could also say does not contain mint. And that actually brings up every other tenant that doesn't have the word mint in it. So as you can see, it says showing 250 out of 255. That obviously excluded all the mint ones that we had previously, which were 5. Yes, there were 5 of them. That's right. Awesome. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention, that it is inclusionary, exclusionary for the name filters. And then obviously we can go to project. And again, I just want to highlight that we have an is and is not. So again, just having that inclusionary and exclusionary filter there as well. So for example, perhaps even in this 5 list, we're like, all right, I just want to see one of them. I could just say, right, maybe I just want to see demo project, for example. So that just pulls out all the mint tenants with the demo project there. Or maybe I don't want to see the demo project, so it's not demo project. And we've got mint snowshoe instead. So, and that clearly doesn't have demo project in it. So again, you can use this to scope in and scope out the different sort of tenant-related information that you want to find in order to really dial down to the specific tenant that you're looking for as well. We can add another rule here. So for example, environment, obviously this has all the environments essentially, so it's not going to really work for us, but I just want to show you that, hey, maybe you want to search for something with production in it. And finally, the other thing that I wanted to show is what we've done with the tenant tag rule. So this is actually a tenant tag rule, so filtered by the customer's tenant tag. And again, there is an inclusionary as well as an exclusionary filter rule, which is in and not in. And what we've done is that we've actually made this multi-select now. So for example, you can actually stack on top, I want to search by Anderson Inc. and Barringer and perhaps Carter and perhaps Frenecki and I'm not going to try to pronounce that, apologies. But essentially you can stack all tags together and click apply. Obviously this will have some, if not all of the tags that I've just selected, or you can say not in, and that will just scope that out. So now you've got an empty data table, essentially. Put that back in, and you've got mint snowshoe. So hopefully folks can see through this demo that the new rules-based filters that we've provided complements the at-scale visibility of the new dashboard as well, where you're able to really dial down to the specific tenant, or dial down to a specific project, or dial down to a specific tag that you're looking for in your tenants, and quite easily do that as well by simply just selecting or typing in something and just hitting enter, essentially. So I'm just going to reset all of this. The other thing that I wanted to point out, or 2 other things I want to point out actually, is the new sharing capability as well as the download CSV button. So I'll start the sharing capability first. So this is an ability to share the filter that you've just applied as a deep link URL. So all you have to do is, for example, if I, let's just say I do mint again, right? So this is filtered by name contains mint. And let's say, all right, actually a colleague of mine or my teammate actually really wants to see this list of all of our mint tenants. What I'll do is that I'll just click the share filter. I'll copy to the clipboard. And what you'll see is that this should actually just show you the same filters again and the same filtered results again. And if you want to be able to save these results, obviously just save it as a bookmark in your browser, or ask your teammate to save it as a bookmark in their browser, and they'll be able to access the filtered list again as well. So that's obviously very nifty, and it's something that customers have been asking us for quite a while. So hopefully folks are happy. The other thing that I want to point out is also download CSV button. So this download CSV button will download the tenants overview dashboard and all the data that you have there. So what you see is what you get, essentially. And so it will also respect the filter rules that you've applied there. And so, for example, if I just filter it by Mint here, this download CSV button will obviously just download all of the Mint-related data. If I reset everything, this will download all 255 results, all 255 tenants, along with their tenant tags, the project names in full, the environments in full as well. And that's the new Tenant Overview dashboard. So again, just to summarize the functions and features coming up for the 23.2 version is the dashboard itself, the new data table format, the new expandable rows that you can see here, the new way of results and results limitation, as well as pagination. All of that comes out with the 23.2 version. If you're on Octopus Cloud, or if you're looking forward to the 23.3 version, the new rules-based filters will be released then. And that's the new redesigned Tenant Overview dashboard. All right, awesome. Moving on to the next thing. Just before we get to questions, and I can see the questions are piling up, so please feel free to leave questions there, because after this, I'll look through them and I'll answer a couple that are there. But essentially, before we get there, I just want to sort of give everyone a heads up on what we're sort of planning in this space. As mentioned, Octopus is investing into the multi-tenancy feature this year. And I wouldn't say that this whole list is a sort of promise to anyone. You can't really promise anything these days, or in terms of, anticipating if things might change. But this is what's in our thinking at the moment, at least in the modeling at scale team, in terms of what we're thinking to improve around multi-tenancy in the near future. So the first thing is introducing a new bulk action, which allows users to connect a tenant to multiple projects and another way around. So again, this is an example of some of our at scale customers, folks that have thousands, tens of thousands of tenants, where they'd love to be able to connect a tenant to multiple projects. So they have thousands, tens of thousands of tenants, or thousands of projects, or tens of thousands of projects. And they would love to be able to connect each tenant to multiple projects in just one workflow, rather than doing it one by one, as we currently do it in the UI, as well as the other way around. So being able to have a bulk action of connecting one project to multiple tenants as well. So that's something that we're definitely considering in investing in this space at the moment. Second thing is a redesigned project deployment overview dashboard. So this is actually in response to some feedback that we've gotten around being unable to see the latest release says connected to a tenant. You're obviously able to see a latest release to a project, but customers that use multi-tenancy will love to be able to see, hey, actually, I want to be able to see the releases per tenant as well, because some tenants might be on a different release cadence, some tenants might have a different release number. And so just giving that visibility would be great. And so this is what we're thinking about to redesign the project deployment overview dashboard within the tenant itself to provide you that visibility. The third thing, is a redesigned task overview dashboard. So this is, again, around the concept of visibility at scale, where you're able to more easily at least, identify a failed deployment task related to a tenant, or any task really related to a tenant in the task overview dashboard. And there's more. There's a lot more that I wish I could share with you, but this is just a really quick snapshot and a glimpse into what we're thinking in this space. Again, like what I just mentioned is, I can't promise that any of these would come out in the near future, but know that this is what we're thinking in this space in terms of investing in the multi-tenancy feature in the near future. And yeah, that's basically the whole demo of the new dashboard and filters. So thanks a lot, everyone. Really, really appreciate I can see all the emoji reactions and all the questions coming in. So I think what I'll do now is that I'll just take a look at the questions that have come in and answer a few perhaps. So let's just take a look, and please do put in questions for this because this is the time in which I will probably be answering them the most. Cool. So I can see at the top by Matthew Rames, do filter settings persist between sessions, or do they reset if you refresh the web page? That's actually a really good question. I think it does persist even if you refresh the web page. I have to admit that it's something that I haven't done myself. I've just tried it with the sharing function, and I know that that actually works, at least when I refresh the link that I share with a user. But I do think that it does persist if you refresh the web page. Whether you log out and log in again, that's probably not going to persist, I think. But at least if you're still on that web page and you refresh, or you just refresh the web page as you're there, I think that will work. If you navigate away from that web page, however, that filter will persist. So you just have to make sure that you don't navigate away from that web page within the application. Is also, again, if you want to save that filter or the filtered view that you have, obviously we've already provided the URL deep link. So just make sure to bookmark that filter view so that you're able to obviously go back to it when you need to, basically. So, but thanks for that question, Matthew. Really appreciate it. Tim, does the filtering respect security rules? If the current user isn't allowed to see the production environment, is the production value excluded from the environment list? That's a really good question. So I believe it does. I believe that it does respect the security rules. What I do think that we've done is that it's either it respects security rules, or we do show the production value, but they can't click into it. It's not a sort of clickable component, or we sort of like masked out. I think we've either not made a clickable component, or we just made a non-interactive sort of component on the dashboard. So, but we respect the security rules around sort of being able to access any configurations related to that environment, for instance. So thanks for your question, Tim. Hopefully that makes sense. Jesper, hi, I'm using multi-tenants today, and the new tenant overview is great. That's great. Thanks for that. Today, I find it difficult to see the project version released on a tenant. Seeing the current release and also the latest release on a tenant from the overview could be nice. Great. No, thanks for that feedback, Jasper. And again, that's actually the project deploy and overview dashboard initiative that I've just mentioned just now. So, and this is something that's not new. I think a lot of folks have been mentioning that. So look out for that. That's something that we're definitely thinking about in the space to do. So when I'm ready, I'll share more in terms of when that might be coming out, but just look out for that in the space as well. Porter Bassett, what is the best way to see what versions are currently deployed to a specific tenant? So yes, this is again related to what Jasper mentioned. So there is it's very hard to sort of see this at the moment. You obviously can sort of click into each project, see the releases per tenant, or click into the tenant and see what the releases are related, and try to combine the two pieces of information together, essentially. So that's why I mentioned that actually we'll be thinking about redesigning the project overview dashboard to give you that information at a much easier glance, essentially, Porter. So thanks for that question, though. Really appreciate it. And finally, Raghunath Nadella, what's the process for including a feed in a tenant? I have a total of 24 feeds to be assigned to 24 different tenants, and I'll have 17 specific targets that need to be mapped. My goal is to incorporate the feeds into the tenants using variables. So apologies, I am probably not the best person to ask this question, Raghunath, so really apologize for that. Please reach out to us support if you would like to know more around feeds and connecting that to tenants as well. Awesome. I think that's mainly all of the questions. If nothing else comes in, I think that's about it. So great. So before I leave off, I think I just want to spend the next couple of minutes just showing folks a couple of places in which you can reach out to us, feedback on this webinar, to ask further questions, or if you'd like to know more about what we're doing in the multi-tenancy space as well, or are interested in multi-tenancy in Octopus as well. So firstly, if you're interested in Octopus or to learn more about multi-tenancy, please feel free to reach out to sales@octopus.com or to call us in the number in the screenshot as well. The second thing is that for those that are unaware, Octopus has a public roadmap. So it's at roadmap.octopus.com. And here is where the product team actually interacts with our users and those interested to know, hey, what's Octopus going to be doing in the future? What has Octopus actually released previously? What is Octopus considering in terms of releasing for future versions of Octopus as well. So here you can see that we've got a couple of features in the under consideration bucket, which is what we're currently considering for future versions, as well as what we're planning and releasing, what we've actually released in versions of Octopus as well. So it's on roadmap.octopus.com. Don't worry about the links and the emails. I'll provide another slide at the end where you can screenshot or record down if you want to be able to access that in the future. But just want to let everyone know that, hey, we've got a public roadmap. Please feel free to go in, take a look at the features that we are thinking about releasing, give feedback on them, which you're able to do so. So you're able to actually click into these cards and actually either vote up. You can vote up and leave a comment in terms of, hey, actually, for example, Octopus Deploy GitHub app, great. That's actually something that I really want to have. So I want to vote for this, and I want to provide a comment being that, hey, this is something that I really really need. So just bring it to our attention and give feedback that way in order to do so. And you're also able to submit an idea in our roadmap as well. So if you can see in this top right-hand corner, there's a submit idea button. Feel free to submit any feedback, any idea that you might have, anything at all in terms of how you'd like us to improve Octopus for you. And finally, we also have a great multi-tenancy use case page. So this is for those folks that are thinking about moving to multi-tenancy in Octopus, or are just curious to learn more about what multi-tenancy actually offers you in Octopus as well. So we've created a really great, really beautiful looking use case page which details out, what multi-tenancy does, how it can benefit you, why you might think about using multi-tenancy, as well as, we have a couple of customer testimonials as well in terms of, hey, this is, this is working for us. This is great. This is scaled up our deployment processes. So again, please read through them and reach out to us if you're considering using multi-tenancy in the future as well. And here's all the links that I've just mentioned. So just to recap, like what I said, please feel free to reach out to sales@octopus.com if you are either new to Octopus or you're thinking about using Octopus, but you haven't had a chance to do that yet. Please feel free to reach out to us. Please feel free to go to our roadmap to give us feedback on things that we're currently considering for future features, as well as to provide your feedback on, or provide new ideas for us as well, if you like, on what we can do to improve Octopus. And finally, please feel free to visit our use case page as well, which will detail out multi-tenancy in Octopus and why you might consider moving to it. And that's all I had for today. So Gemma, not sure if you'd like to come back on stage, but thanks again so much, everyone. Really, really appreciate the time. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the demo and enjoyed the information provided. And yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you all this morning.
Perfect. Thanks, Ian, and thanks everyone for joining our webinar today. And you can find the rest of our webinars on our website at octopus.com/webinars. We'd love to have you again. So we look forward to following up with you. And yeah, have a great rest of your day and speak soon.